My name is Brent. This is my wife, Kelly. We've been coming to Community Christian Church for 4 years.
When we moved back to Naperville the first time, our son Tyler was 13 months old, just starting to walk, and Chelsea was just beginning kindergarten. We thought we would be out here maybe 2 or 3 years and then get shipped back to California, but we were actually here for 10. When Brent came home one afternoon and said, "Guess what, honey, we're moving back to California," it was not met with a whole lot of enthusiasm. This had become truly our home.
When we arrived in San Diego, I dove into my job. Same company, but a much larger responsibility. Kelly dove into putting the house together. Tyler missed every single moment of Naperville. And Chelsea bloomed in San Diego. Wouldn't you say that?
Yeah, it took her about 2 whole days.
Yeah.
We didn't take it for granted, but we, at the same time, had not been attending a church regularly. We weren't giving our thanks to God for this golden time in our lives.
We were a beautiful family, and we had so many people surrounding us and gifts surrounding us that if we would have been paying attention, we would have understood.
About 1.5 years after we had moved back to San Diego, there were a tremendous amount of wildfires that came through the San Diego area. Part of our house burned down. We were out of our home for over 6 weeks. About 1 year after that, my mother passed away, and my mom and I were extremely close. And up to that point, that was the greatest loss that I had suffered. And then 3 months later, Chelsea went missing. And that's when everything changed.
The day she went missing, she hadn't checked in with us. Kelly sensed something was wrong.
Her phone was showing up at a park about 10-15 minutes away from our home. Brent immediately went and drove over to there while I called the police.
Within 2 hours, probably 300 people were at the park searching for her. And then by 7 o'clock, the news media had shown up. It had become an event. I pulled Kelly close to me and I bring Tyler next to us. And I said, there's 2 things that are going to happen. First thing, we're going to get Chelsea home. And I chose my words appropriately. Second thing is, as a family, we're going to come out of this strong. And then, after I let them go, I gave everything to God. I surrendered. I surrendered to God. God, you have my girl. You love her more than I love her. I love you. Let's get through this.
In the 1 o'clock hour this afternoon, search and rescue crews discovered a body in a shallow grave near the shores of Lake Hodges, believed to be that of 17-year-old Chelsea King.
The warm glow from this sea of candles at St. Michael's Church lit up the darkness that hung over Poway tonight.
After 5 days of searching for her, and her body was found, I had nothing left to pray for. The one thing that I wanted was my daughter home safely. And so that then turned to anger. So Brent and I were in 2 completely different spaces at that point in terms of how we viewed our relationship with God and how he was going to be there or not be there to get us through this.
Brent and Kelly King are still grieving the loss of their daughter. 17-year-old Chelsea King vanished February 25th after going for a jog. 6 days later, her body was found in a shallow grave. So the Kings want a new law to better track sexual predators.
I promise to do all I can to protect other daughters and other mothers from this incomprehensible nightmare I'm walking through.
So we chose to pass Chelsea's law. And what Chelsea's law says is that if you commit a sexual assault on a child and you violently harm them, you're going to jail for 25 to life. We changed over 25 sentencing laws. We passed something that's called the containment model.
People said, I don't know how you're doing this. I don't know how you're getting up at 3 a.m. and being on national broadcasts and flying up to Sacramento and meeting with all these people while you're still trying to grieve your daughter. Our lives became very, very public, and it left no room for grieving. So we brought Tyler back here to Naperville. I came back on a weekend. We went right back to our old neighborhood that we had lived in for 10 years. It was absolutely God's grace working through us and for us.
One of my very good friends said, hey, you really need to get to church. And I said, where do you suggest? And he said, well, go over to Yellow Box, give it a try. I invited Kelly to come with, And at that point, she wasn't ready to come. I had the pain of loss of our daughter and the joy of discovering God. And in between, there's my balance. What I receive every Sunday at church is a reaffirmation of God's love.
It was frustrating and hard for me to comprehend that he could find again a sense of peace. And not that everything was okay again or that it ever would be right again, but that there was a peace about him. I had the first inkling as I came back to find my way back to God. When I returned back to the place where Chelsea had been found, I was called to go by a voice that was stronger, louder than anything that I had control over. When I came to the exact place where they had found her, rather than the sense of terror and pain and fear, all I knew in that moment was that I was standing in the exact same place that angels had come down to this earth. I knew that they had come down, they had taken Chelsea and brought her to heaven. In that moment, God was so incredibly real to me. You know, that's when I decided to come back to church.
I started praying probably 2 months after we lost Chelsea that my wife and my son would find Christ. So the day she got baptized was one of my best days in life. Happiest day ever.
I remember after being baptized, coming up out of the water, and I felt the weight of, it seemed like 1,000 years of sorrow had been lifted off of my shoulders. I found love again. I found joy in my life again. I found strength, and I found the will to go out and say, listen, people, you can do this. You're not alone. No, you're never alone. And this is coming from someone who thought it was impossible. There wasn't even the tiniest speck of light at the end of this tunnel when I started on this journey. But please just don't give up. Don't lose hope. You have to choose hope over everything else.